Welcome to Doc Chat, the podcast that brings you the stories of the unique community of people who work, live and play in the historic Dockyard, Chatham. In this episode, we hear from Richard Morsley, Chief Executive of Chatham Historic Dockyard Trust. Richard reflects on 2024, a very important year for the Dockyard, and looks forward to 2025, focusing on the strategic direction and long-term projects of the Trust. We also look at a very special half-term event and the latest exhibition. In this part, Richard reviews last year at the Dockyard.
2024, a really important year for the Dockyard, a very important year for the Chatham Historic Dockyard Trust. So marking our 40th anniversary as an organisation, so the establishment of the Trust following the closure of the Dockyard in 1984. And we recognise within that this is an important moment in our story, in our history, but also recognising the importance of that moment to Medway, the place that's Medway. And we wanted to really mark that in an appropriate way. So we sat down and we set out to really think about how do we do that? What do we want to get from a 40th anniversary year? What do we need to cover? What do we need to convey? How do we both commemorate appropriately the closure of the Dockyard, so appropriately commemorating the closure, whilst not only dwelling on the past and recognising the really significant progress and the amazing achievements that there have been over the last 40 years, probably more so than anyone would have been able to imagine 40 years ago when the Dockyard closed. So we set out our Dockyard 40 programme and really we agreed 3 set objectives. We said we want to commemorate the closure appropriately, we need to mark that, we need to do so respectfully, but we don't want to dwell on the past. So we also want to celebrate the successes of this place and the achievements that there have been over that 40-year period. But also, really importantly, we want to engage with our local communities, recognising the importance of this for Medway. So we set up Dockyard 40. And to do that, we had a really wide-ranging kind of programme of both major events, smaller events, exhibitions, things that take place both on-site, but also things that took place right across our local communities, different ways to pull out aspects of that story, really. Doing that through, as I say, exhibitions, touring exhibitions, photographic exhibitions, through major events, telling our stories in different ways, and also working with and within our communities locally. And there were some amazing highlights in that year. There really were some absolute cracking moments. And I think some of the real highlights for me, absolute highlight for me, I think was Ghost Ships. Was an amazing partnership project that was developed with and led by our partners Icon Theatre. So Icon Theatre, Arts Council, National Portfolio Organisation, based on the Dockyard. And they wanted to reinterpret and tell the Dockyard's 400-year history, but telling stories and aspects of that story that we don't pick up elsewhere, through in some instances through our museum, engaging local communities in that storytelling and interpreting it through a completely different form than what we do, through the way that we work. So really using kind of contemporary and Kathak dancing as a way of interpreting that. And it was just remarkable. So over 4 nights, over 2,000 people, really strong local focus in terms of the audience for that. And as I say, telling aspects of our story that we just don't otherwise do. So that was a real moment. Hosting Armed Forces Day, so working in partnership with Medway Council. There's a real partnership theme actually in a lot of the work that we've done and that we do. So hosting our Armed Forces Day, Medway's Armed Forces Day, welcoming over 8,000 people to site to really support and show our support for our armed forces communities and to really respect the military traditions of this place and to do that through a really open, public, free to enter, fully accessible event. So that's some big moments, but there's also been some really lovely smaller moments in that as well. So a photographic exhibition that showed our 40 years and some of the evolution of the place and the site over that 40 years, both a physical and a digital timeline that we put together to talk about the 40 years from the closure, right from the point of the closure of the Dockyard, the simultaneous establishment of the Chatham Historic Dockyard Trust, right the way through, and kind of taking it right back to, we are a charity that is ultimately about the preservation of this remarkable place, custodians of this remarkable place, and how we then tell the stories of that. So how we deliver our learning objective to tell the 400-year story of the historic Dockyard Chatham. And we just used a range of platforms really to do that. So local, regional, national, international, even in some senses, being out there talking at a range of different community events, but also a range of conferences and different things that we spoke about and delivered in lots of different ways. So lots and lots of moments and highlights for that for me. And a key element in it, as I said, one of our core objectives was how we engage with our local communities. So building on our really successful public engagement work that we deliver through Vicky and with our volunteers and lots of the team getting involved in that, how we actually work with and engage and build local audiences and ensuring that the historic Dockyard is a place for them, that it's welcoming and accessible for everyone, and that we have a relevance and a connection to our local communities. And I think our 40th anniversary year went a long way to achieving some of those core objectives really. And within that, also thinking about how we ensure that price isn't a barrier for access to people. So discounts for local Medway residents, continuing our discounted access for people on universal credit, pension tax credits, really trying to overcome barriers for access to this place. And I think all in all, when we then look at some of the audience data in that, so really start to drill into some of the detail in what was a difficult year in many respects for museum visitation. Taking a step back from visitation levels from 2023, we've actually seen more people year on year from Medway visiting the Dockyard. So in a challenging context, we've actually made some really positive progress. So I think it's been some wonderful moments through Dockyard 40, and I'm really proud of the way that we did it. I think we did it in the right way. We struck a really sensitive balance, and the feedback that I think we've received as an organisation has been really, really positive. Other highlights for me, being recognised nationally, regionally and nationally for the quality of our work. So receiving a Visit England Gold Award for the quality of our museum and visitor attraction was a really proud moment. They're hard to get, and we're consistently there year on year and year in terms of the quality of that visitor experience. So right from that wonderful welcome that our staff and our volunteers provide to visitors when they come through, and then all of those touch points and the aspects of the experience that they have when they're visiting us, and to have that recognised nationally was really important. I think important for us as an organisation. Recognition is really key. And I think the other one, which I'm really proud of, was the receiving a gold award at the Beautiful South Awards for accessible and inclusive tourism 3.5 years ago. We didn't even have a kind of broader quality, diversity, inclusion strategy. It was there, but we were doing work around it, but it wasn't brought together. So we set ourselves a really clear strategy and some really clear goals as to what we were going to try and do. And ultimately with this ambition to ensure the Dockyard's welcoming and inclusive for everyone. This place is for everyone. And to have that recognised 3.5 years later at a regional level, the quality of the work that we're doing around accessibility was really rewarding. And there's been an awful lot of hard work by too many members of our team really to mention, but to receive that recognition was really important. Lots of exhibitions, lots of programmes, an R&LI exhibition, our Ralph Steadman exhibition was amazing. reopening of our number one smithery. So really one of the first projects that within our kind of 40-year arc, project completed in 2010, I believe, with a major capital project in 2010. During that lifespan, it's one of the first projects we've then had to go back to revisit and refresh and really bring back to life, which we did. And we raised a significant amount of capital funding from a number of funding partners and have delivered and completely modernised this space for visitors to the Dockyard today. And once again, really proud of that. It looks wonderful, it's welcoming, it's inclusive, it's accessible, and it's telling a story in a much more coherent way than it was previously. And I think also the way that we're telling stories and the way that we're programming generally to ensure that it's much more kind of immersive and engaging and really working to develop and engage new and different audiences. And through our family programs that we've run through the year, right the way through to something like Mission Christmas, which we do as a really immersive storytelling, I think our programming has taken a real leap forward as well.
We will hear more from Richard later. To find out more about visiting the Dockyard, go to the website, which is easily accessible by typing Historic Dockyard Chatham in your browser, or if you want the website address, it is thedockyard.co.uk. That is thedockyard.co.uk. You will be able to buy tickets online, and the great thing is the cost of a ticket gives you access to the Dockyard for a year. The Dockyard opens to the public on Thursday the 13th of February and closes to the public mid-November, apart from special, separately ticketed events. We have a very special half-term event for all the family, the Rat Pack and the Lost Shipwreck. So come and take part in this fun-filled adventure. This event runs from the 15th of February to the 23rd of February and is included in the annual ticket price. We are thrilled to present the internationally acclaimed Brick Wrecks, Sunken Ships in Lego Bricks, making its UK debut at the Dockyard. The exhibition runs from the 8th of March to the 31st of August and is included in the annual ticket price. Please visit the Dockyard website for more information about both of these attractions. In this part, Richard talks about 2025, the strategic direction and long-term projects of the Trust.
And as we look to the future, we're at the cusp of a really exciting moment in the next stage of the development of the Historic Dockyard and for the Chatham Historic Dockyard Trust more broadly. I think there's some really exciting opportunities coming our way. There's some challenges in there that we're going to need to navigate and work our way around as well. And we've really tried to approach that strategically. So really over the course of the last year or so, we've been working on the development of our new 10-year strategy. And that's working as a senior leadership team, but also working really closely with our trustees. And ultimately, this is the trustees' strategy in terms of setting that strategic direction for the organisation. But we've also actively sought to use this as an opportunity and a way of actively engaging with our teams. And that's both our staff teams, our volunteer teams, all really working together as one organisation, working with a single and common focus. And through that, it's been a really interesting process. And one of the hardest things we've had to work through is we set ourselves a challenge of coming up with a really tight vision to be able to articulate in under 8 words, because we didn't want one of these long, sprawling statements about who we are and what we do. Really trying to articulate in under 8 words who we are as an organisation. And we've set ourselves a vision of becoming a world-leading maritime heritage destination. And that's kind of our guiding star now in this 10-year plan of everything that we do is ultimately in the furtherance of our ambition to be a world-leading maritime heritage destination. And if you think for 400 years, this place, the Dockyard, has been right at the heart of and almost defined the development of the Medway towns. It's been that absolute beating heart of the community. And so 40 years on from that closure, it's how we continue that, how we, through our twin objectives of preservation and learning, kind of ensure that we're at the heart of this place, how we preserve this place for future generations, how we tell these incredible stories about this place, and how we're an active and engaged and relevant part of our local communities, all whilst ensuring that we're here for another 40 years as well. So never kind of losing sight of that underlying need to ensure that this place is viable, that we're a viable, resilient charity able to deliver our twin charitable purpose. So going through this strategy process, engaged our teams on multiple occasions, multiple sessions, really wanting this kind of ownership of our strategy as an organisation going forward. And we're now right on the cusp of launching that strategy, as I say, with that overarching vision, and then 3 underlying strategic objectives. So everything that we're doing then ultimately around audiences, so how we put our audiences first, preservation, how we preserve through the reuse of this remarkable historic estate, and then resilience. That's ultimately about ensuring a long-term sustainable future. And within that, our whole kind of 10-year plan sort of underpinned by these strategic objectives and the work that we're doing. So our strategy will launch later this year. We've done lots of work with the team, as I say, just in terms of rolling that out and ensuring it makes sense, and ensuring that this is born of us as an organisation, that everyone's had a voice and an opportunity to engage in that, and how we've put that through this big filter. So I think that the next key stage for us is launching our strategy, and then how we subsequently align all of our work aligned to that strategy. I think alongside that, there's going to be some really exciting specific developments that will be taking place over the coming years. And firstly, we're really excited about the project which we're currently and just started work on around the preservation of Commissioner's House. So Commissioner's House, this absolute gem of a building right in the heart of our site. Grade 1 listed, scheduled ancient monument, dates from 1703, the most complete intact naval residence, the oldest and most complete intact naval residence anywhere in the UK. Hugely significant building. And how we secured £2.3 million of funding from DCMS and Arts Council England to deliver this preservation project. And then with a wider funding campaign, seeking to raise another £600,000 or so to support the delivery of that project. So that's the first phase, is preserving the house, and it really warrants it because it's remarkable. And then secondly, how we then use the house. So how we use that and how we deliver a really high class and top quality hospitality usage for the house, firstly, so that will be its primary use, but then also how we interpret the house and how we bring visitors into it in a way that they haven't been able to in the past. So incorporating that as part of the wider storytelling across the Dockyard. So that's very exciting. So that'll be a project, work's just started, and we intend to reopen it to visitors for summer 2026. And I think the second project, which I'm also really excited about, and it's kind of been a baby of mine actually, I feel like I've carried this from a Dockyard perspective for the last 5.5 years, is the development of docking station. So through the acquisition of the police section house, which once again a remarkable building, sits at the northern end of the Dockyard, a building which, due to almost the quirk of a red pen by someone in Whitehall in probably, 1983, 1984, sits outside of the ownership of the trust. And we've managed to rewrite that historic wrong by working in partnership with the University of Kent, our partners at Medway Council and Homes England, to acquire the police section house on a really long-term lease to bring that under the preservation and care of the trust. And after a very long process, we managed to complete that the autumn of 24. Once again, a really significant historic building. Grade 2 listed, Grade 2 star listed, scheduled ancient monument, an important part of our story. And it's really stood there derelict since it was last used, I think in the 1960s. And then working with our partners at the University of Kent to deliver this and develop this really fantastic future reuse of that building. So absolutely sitting within our strategy of preservation through reuse, of creating this outstanding digital, creative and cultural industries hub that will be located there. And that's going to bring together education, innovation, employment, all focused through the digital, creative and cultural industries, really building on and feeding on this exciting creative industries hub that's already based around the Dockyard, and really kind of turbocharging that for the future. It's a game changer for this place, and the opportunity it presents is remarkable. £13.5 million has been raised for that project, taken 5.5 years to get to this point, and work has now just started on site, and that'll also be completed in summer, autumn 2026. So really exciting in terms of major projects, major developments. I think within the Trust's overall charitable model and our charitable financial model, the importance of our estate and the importance of property-derived income is really what provides that financial sustainability that makes everything work. So over the 10 years of our strategy, how do we continue to evolve that? How do we continue to develop other spaces that are going to support that overall sustainability? And there's some really exciting opportunities in that will come to light over time. And I think then from a museum side, I think what perhaps looking back that over the last 5 years, I think the thing that we haven't done, because we've been focused on the property development to support our charitable model, the thing that we haven't done is invest in those major new attractions that are going to come online almost on a rolling 3-4 year basis to really enhance and transform our visitor offer. So work now really underway thinking about aligning to audiences, really aligning our future museum product to the audiences that we want to target and develop and bring into this place. And with a really exciting project that we're planning linked to HMS Gannet that will see both the preservation of Gannet but also the storytelling of Gannet in a way that we haven't before. But then alongside that, just a wider museum strategy that will see us evolve and change the overarching story that we tell in the museum and the way that we tell that, and to ensure that we do so coherently. And then really thinking about the spaces that we use to tell that story for the benefit of our visitors. So bringing it back, I think we're really on the cusp of this really exciting moment for the Trust. And I think this 10 years, we're going to see a lot of development and a lot of change. But I also think that change is absolutely necessary and essential as well. We operate and we work in a really difficult operating context. In a post-pandemic world, things have fundamentally changed. We have fewer visitors than we did pre-pandemic. The operating context that we work in is a lot more challenging. People have less money in their pocket. We're not just competing against museums and visitor attractions. We're competing for consumer spend in its broadest sense. And I think delivering outstanding experiences targeted to dedicated audiences is the way that we're going to do that. People expectations are higher and ever higher. And within that, particularly looking to the year ahead, we have just the most amazing exhibition that we're really excited to launch and to open, which is Lego Brick Wrecks. So through the art of Lego, telling the story of 8 shipwrecks, 3 of which have direct Chatham connections. So aligning Lego with actual kind of museum objects, broader storytelling, the use of technology within that, bringing this absolutely world-class exhibition to Chatham. And I can truly call it world-class. It was designed and developed by the National Maritime Museum of Australia, based in Sydney. It's currently, in fact, just been taken out of the Vasa in Stockholm. It's then going to be coming to Chatham, so opening on the 8th of March, running through until the end of August. And from here, it will be going to one of the world's greatest maritime museums of Mystic Seaport in Connecticut. So it's very much bringing global world-class exhibitions to Chatham to tell our stories. And we're really, really excited to do that. So I think there's a challenging, broader context that we work in, but I think we've got a lot of confidence in the work that we're doing, the product that we're developing, and the way that we're telling those stories. And I think ultimately none of that can be done without our people and without our teams. And that's all of our staff and all of our volunteers and how we work together to make this place both the remarkable place it is, but also the remarkable organisation that it is as well. I think we've got people here who are so passionate and committed to the work that we're doing and the work of this organisation that in some respects it makes my job as chief executive quite easy, really. It's about how do you harness that passion? How do we put it in a common direction, ultimately for the common good of this place? I've never worked anywhere like it. I'm really proud to say that because I truly believe we're unique, and it's what makes the job so exciting.
We are now on 11 podcast platforms, including Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify and YouTube. You can visit any of the 11 podcast platform websites or download their free apps from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. If you have enjoyed our podcast, please hit the subscribe button and you will be sent a notification whenever a new episode is added. To contact us about the podcasts, please email us at podcast@chdt.org.uk. That's podcast@chdt.org.uk. So until the next time, this is John saying goodbye and take care.